Welcome back to Planet Coaster 1, not 2. And I know that's a little bit weird, but I wanted to do this video for a long time now. And I always remember that park that I wanted to show you in quite a good way. So it's been a while since I have loaded up this game, and it didn't really load at all. It crashed all the time, so I needed to reset everything. But luckily all my parks are still there. And I'm gonna load up the Compact City Park. It actually never had a real name. So I want to give you a little bit of context or history to this park. So this park was created at the same time we've created the ROOKBURGH recreation. And the simple reason was because sometimes you get quite burned out when you just do one little project, or one big project, I shall say. That's why I had a second project that was basically just to do something different in terms of creativity. And it was never really meant to be like a park for a YouTube series. However, it turned out to be a lot more than this, because it was built over 2 or 3 years. It became quite large of a park. Not large in terms of footprint, because as you are going to see in a second, this park is on a very, very small footprint. I don't know why, but I always have this thing for very small parks and very compact builds. Yeah, let's wait for the park to load up. And here we are, and as you can see, yeah, it's quite heavily themed. This park started as like a permanent fairground style park, and it all started with this ride in the middle, and I already can tell the performance is so much worse than Planet Coaster 2. And it all started with this little ride here. This ride is called Bullseye, and it's still called Bullseye after all these years. I have a separate video on this channel that showed this very ride, and it was meant as a transportable ride. But at some time when this park was growing, I decided, okay, we need to make it permanent now. And that's why it looks like this. And from the top view, it looks very, very chaotic. And more or less, like the 70% on the left side is pretty much finished. And everything on this side is, yeah, pretty work in progress. But yeah, I'm still going to try to show you everything here. So I've made out my own little scenario there. Obviously, we are pretty much landlocked in our park. But after some time, a plot of land became available to purchase, so we did that and we just put a roller coaster down there. But as you can see, it's still not finished, not supported or anything. The time where I built this roller coaster, Planet Coaster 2 was already announced. I didn't really bother with finishing this project at all. However, I still think there's so much in this park that I need to show you, because it would be very, very sad if this park is never seen in public, because there are probably like hundreds of hours of work in this park. So let's just jump into the first person perspective. And as you can see, we have a very, very classic American style main street. It's not really open, it's pretty narrow, but I really love it. These classic buildings, even when you look back, the corner style buildings, I really like how that all turned out. And bear in mind, this game was a lot less flexible than Planet Coaster 2, so the pathways were a pain in the ass, to say it kindly. You couldn't really scale anything, so yeah, everything here is vanilla, no mods used. And as you can hear, we have a beautiful soundtrack that's very uplifting, very epic to enter a park. And we have quite... Oh, and that's the show that is starting, but we are going to take a look at that later in the evening. So the first thing we have on our right side is a dark ride called Old West. And this one is a very, very compact dark ride, obviously Wild West themed. And this one gets absolutely packed when you open up the park. And that's one thing that I'm missing in Planet Coaster 2, definitely. It's the long queue lines. Not long in terms of wait time, but people don't just queue up anymore in Planet Coaster 2, and I don't know why that is. So we go upstairs. We have this kind of courtyard and these facades, these classic Western facades. So this is meant to be like a hotel, and as you can see, it's really compact. We have a roller coaster on the roof. We are going to see all that later on in the video. And then we are going to make our way through this part of the queue line. just ignore all of that. And then we are in the station already. This is quite messy. I have to admit, all of this is quite messy. And now we are actually already at the dock, right? Oh yeah, okay, we are starting here. So we get teleported, because I didn't know how to pull that off in another way. We get teleported into the jail. Every good western city needs a jail. And there we have our bandit that is actually breaking out with an explosion. And now the storyline is pretty obvious. The bandit is trying to steal money from the bank. Bear in mind, this is my first time in over a year that I'm taking a look of it, so I already forgot this scene. Here we have the bandit with all his dynamite and other explosives, and he's obviously trying to rob a bank in an uncommon way, let's say it like that. And as you can see, there is now the explosion. Yep, I think that is pretty good timed. And here he is, just chilling in the safe. And now we have this classic shooting scene in a saloon. So yeah, just enjoy this. Oh my god, I forgot how funny that looked. Love it. I always try to keep it realistic, but it wasn't that easy sometimes with Planet Coaster 1. And that's mostly it. The bandit killed everyone. Not the happy end, and the ride ends off at the at the church again. So that's it. Yeah, a bit more of a dark story, but let's continue our walk around. We could head to the left side, and that's going to the pirate area that you have seen in the opening shot. And yeah, you are definitely going to see a resemblance to the pirate area that I'm building right now in Planet Coaster 2. However, this one was a lot more compact, obviously. We do have a lot of stalls here. Again, they weren't as customizable as in Planet Coaster 2 now. We have a restaurant there, more eateries. I do think I've tried to hide a staff building there. But yeah, this is the entrance for Bullseye. As you can see, we have the extended queue line here, and the queue line is actually going around all the roller coaster part on the outside through all this rock work, so you can always take a look at the roller coaster. I do quite like this part of the queue line, and I know the lighting is a lot worse in Planet Coaster 1, but I do still think that it doesn't look too bad. And here we are on the station, pretty basic. It has an insanely high throughput, this ride. I do think we dispatch a train every 25 or 30 seconds. Here we go. It's a single-launched Gerstlauer Infinity roller coaster. We do have some special effects here and there. Inverted top hat, at least nearly inverted. We have the dive drop with a small airtime hump, an Immelman loop, and then we have the first mid-course brake run. And this is going into the more compact section of the ride now. As you can see, it's a bit jittery, but I do think it's alright for Planet Coaster 1. Planet Coaster 1 was very, very jittery, didn't really have continuous roll, no matter how much you smooth the ride. And now we are into the finally of the roller coaster with these S-bands and then inversion again. Okay, so let's exit this ride. Oh, it's a little bit annoying with the first person perspective, I have to admit this. So yeah, this is the exit path, and it leads back into the main street, as you can see. So one big topic with this park is that you need to reduce sightlines as much as possible, so you couldn't really see into the other areas, even though the park is very compact. And I've tried to do this with this bridge, which is inspired by the Brooklyn Bridge, I believe. And behind that, we find our next themed area. And as you might have guessed, it's this Swiss themed area, heavily inspired by the Swiss area at Europa Park, with these kind of buildings. One thing that was always kind of annoying in Planet Coaster 1 is the lighting, because everything that isn't in direct sunlight doesn't quite look right. So that's why I was fighting with these buildings all the time. And I do really like this area because it still feels very open and quite large, even though it really isn't. I even needed to embed very small pathways because we would create a huge traffic jam on this corner. That's why we have this small pathway. Really like this. It feels very cozy. But yeah, we do have these two flat rides. And this one, that one took a lot of time, not because the theming is insanely well done, but I've made this fully custom fountain show, and it's synced up to the music, and I really like that. By the way, I do think I have uploaded this park into the workshop, so if you still are playing Planet Coaster 1 and you want to take a look at this park yourself, you can do that. But yeah, this is not very interesting apart from the outside looks, so we are going to skip those. Really like that building. We do have a toilet block here. And here's the entrance to our next roller coaster, which is this very classic wooden roller coaster. So it's nothing too wild. So we are making our way through the wooden structure and back to the station building. So let's take a ride on Gipfelstürmer. It's not the tallest ride, not the most extreme ride, but it's a very classic ride that just needs to be in this sort of park, in my opinion. And it gives up some really nice views, especially to the other areas. So as you can see already, this park packs so much into it, even though it's on such a small footprint. And that's why I wanted to show you all of this. Yeah, maybe you have seen the fire effect. Definitely not necessary, but I still like this fire effect to this day. Yeah, few dips and airtime moments. I still try to keep it exciting here. Most of the time these kind of rides are very tame, but this one actually has some decent airtime moments. Small mid-course brake run, and now the last stretch of the ride, creating some lateral G-forces here. Needed a trim brake there, and as you can see already, we have these wooden panel walls on the left side, just to block in the view from the other area that you are definitely going to see later on. Yeah, that's the ride, and that's the station. Let's continue our way around the park. So here I didn't really have the space to create fully fledged out facades, so that's why I've made this highly detailed fence, you can call it like that. And now we are actually heading into the next area, Bone Valley, and as you can guess already, it's a spooky themed area. This freefall tower was supposed to be located in a small ruin, similar to the Highlander at Hansa Park, but I really never had the time to do that because it would have involved a lot of custom brickwork. But just imagine this ride in a small ruin. However, I can show you the entrance to the log flume ride that you have already seen a couple of times now. This one is really small and not really dressed up that well. That's why we are going to skip it, because it's a little bit embarrassing. And there was the fast lane queue line actually. The normal queue line is heading through here, I think. Yeah, that's the normal queue line. Okay, however, I want to show you this building, and I still like this building to this very day. Of course, it's not up to my standards anymore, but for the time, I think it was quite alright. Again, I need to show you all of this in sunlight, as well as in nighttime. Because with this one, I've made some very nice light effects in the nighttime. But since I have the fixed light on now, I can show you this one in the daytime. And I do think that one is screenshot worthy, right? So this roller coaster we are seeing here, this is the station building for the Maurer X-Car, I think it is. It's a very short ride, however it's insanely intense. It pulls like 5 to 5.5 Gs, and the entrance is not here. We have the entrance to the B&M Hypercoaster, which is called Regan, but the entrance to the The entrance to the Maura coaster is here. It's called Unknown Forces. The name Unknown Forces is meant to be ambiguous, so it has two meanings. First of all, Unknown Forces because the forces are so high that you have never felt them before, or Unknown Force in terms of like the spiritual force, since we are in the spooky area. So the queue line, I do think the queue line still holds up to this day. It's very, very mysterious. Also in the evening, so this one works in both day and night time. The queue line isn't very long since the ride doesn't really have good capacity. And that's the station building from the inside. And now I see where the last 7 people are actually located at. They were stuck in this train for some reason. And now we are taking a ride. And after that ride, I'm going to show you the light effects in the nighttime. As you can hear, we also have onboard audio for this very short ride. Now we are hanging upside down, but we are dropping down this insane drop, which isn't the tallest drop actually. We do have our dive drop here, an insane airtime hill, and now it's going to the tallest drop. One last inversion through the station, and then we are back on the lift hill, and now we are slowly descending back down. That's it already. However, as you have seen, this ride goes quite deep into the ground. My inspiration for that is Oblivion at Alton Towers. Yeah, you can see it now. The ride, the ground level stops here, but it continues like 20 or 25 meters into the ground. And yeah, that's the outside of this building. I always love building facades because you can leave the back side of the building quite empty. Unknown Forces, the most intense roller coaster you will ever experience. So yeah, that's everything you are going to see from the street when you're driving around the park. Another thing that I wanted to implement into the park was having like big skylines or like a skyline background. But since the performance is already not that great, I do only have like 30 FPS right now, I've decided to not do that, but it would have been a great idea. You have already seen the B&M Hyper roller coaster, so that's where next stop is. The queue line, I do remember I've spent some time here. As I've mentioned, building interiors in Planet Coaster 1 was very, very painful and not rewarding at all, because something's missing here. Never mind. Not really rewarding because it wasn't looking good unless you were putting it to nighttime. But yeah, since we didn't have ray tracing, that wasn't like the greatest thing ever. So let's head into the station, which is very dirty from the inside, but yeah, doesn't matter now. Let's start on our ride on the B&M Hyper roller coaster. As you can see, it's not really tall. It's not a hyper roller coaster at all. I don't even think it's a mega coaster, so it doesn't really hit 46 meters, I think. But we can fact check that later on. And I have to say, I don't really remember the layout of this ride, so it's quite interesting or exciting for me as well to ride this now. Oh, we do have a launch. Yeah, I remember that. But there's a reason for that. Oh, okay, and now we are on top of the Dark Ride building. Okay. I do think I have changed the layout of this roller coaster quite a number of times. That's why I didn't really remember it anymore. Yeah, but it's quite a long ride, isn't it? One more turnaround section. And now we are actually having a different color in track. Oh, it's a really long ride. It goes around the park like twice. Here's the Chinese section. Okay. Little twister section as well. Oh, very, very intense helix. Oh, that wasn't like the ending brake run? Okay, now. Okay. That was like the pre-brake section, similar to Shambhala or anything like that. Okay. Very long ride. I'm quite surprised. I didn't really remember that. But yeah, we do have a launch at the end of the first drop. And I remember why I did that. First of all, because the ride would have been too slow without it. And I've decided, because we don't have a transfer track or a maintenance shed for this roller coaster here, I've decided that I will locate it in this trench here. And as you can see, here it is. I still really kind of like this idea. And I don't think it's too unrealistic, because you could actually drive out one roller coaster train and then you could proceed to do a swing launch. Yeah, seems right to me, I think. And I do actually like the look of the transfer track. It seems very industrial. However, I don't know how the maintenance workers are actually going downstairs here, because I don't see a stair. So we have seen everything in this section now as well. And I think we are going to continue our way to the boardwalk. I don't know how I have called this area. Is it boardwalk? Beach Boulevard. Okay, let's go to the Beach Boulevard. Are you named Tidget Cam already? No, you're not. So you have two options. You could go the long way around, passing the two entrance buildings of the roller coasters, or you can just go from the Swiss area directly to the Beach Boulevard. And I remember that I tried to keep this ride like California themed. That's why we have the Golden Gate Bridge there. Let's jump into the queue line, take a look at the theming. Not much here, it's pretty generic, but I do think it works with this sort of theme. A little bit of queue line on top of the station building, a little bit queue line here. I do think it's quite a long queue line for such a small ride, I believe. So let's jump onto it. Okay, I do think I have user mod for this ride, because we can actually accelerate to a speed that wasn't possible in Planet Coaster 1. And we are starting off the ride by driving on top of these piers. We have some smaller pools down there, pretty close to the roller coaster and pretty close to the guardrails. Too close probably, that's why it looks like we made a car accident. And now we are driving on top of the sandy dunes. And now we are driving from the beach onto the highway. And that's where we are accelerating now. Doing a U-turn. Quite fast, isn't it? And now we are heading to San Francisco. Again, a little bit fast here. The guardrails are pretty close here. And descending down the Golden Gate Bridge. Half the Golden Gate Bridge. And I do think that's like already it. But I do really like this ride. Has a nice feeling. And I also like how it looks from the from off-ride. Very compact, but still very open at the same time, because we have this little lake here. It's supposed to be the beach. And these two buildings, one of those is just a facade, and the other one is again a small gift shop. Yeah, really like this. Like the details on the wall. Now we are heading to Pirates Cove. I do think that's my favorite area, even though this one isn't finished as well. So yeah, a lot of unfinished projects, but again, I never really made a series on this park, so I didn't really felt the need to finish everything. This was just to let out my creativity that was missing in the ROOKBURGH recreation. This is the exit pathway from the spinning coaster that we are going to ride in a second. I think it's called Buccaneer. Yeah, it's Buccaneer. I do think it's very important, no matter how compact your park is, that you always have places like this where you can just relax, chill out, enjoy the atmosphere. And yeah, that's the entrance for Buccaneer. But first, I wanted to show you all of these facades, because I remember that I've put a lot of time and energy into those. Because it's easy to build very straight, perfect square buildings, but it's not it's not easy to build these broken down, crooked, tilted buildings at all. And I do really like that. We have some special effects here as well. You have heard the bell ringing on top of there. Oh, that looks great. I didn't remember that it looks that good at nighttime. Oh, I think it's not triggered by the spinning coaster. It's triggered by the... We have a water effect that's triggered by the spinning coaster, but I think it's triggered by the hyper coaster. Yeah. It's so simple, but I still like this effect. And that was the theme with this park in general. I tried to incorporate so many little effects and interactions. Yeah, also like this bridge. It's trying to hide the drop from the not hypercoaster. Okay, so now let's head into the queue line of Buccaneer. If I remember correctly, this ride is a little bit more intense than usual for those kind of rides. And I'm again stuck on top of this roof. Okay, but I've made it out. So I'm... Oh. Maybe we are going to skip the queue line. I've just wanted to show you one little bit of the queue line that I always found quite funny. Because this one always had an insane queue. So I've needed to have a little bit of extension space. And that's why I've decided to build this little queue line part underneath the end brake. And there you get a good view of the transfer track. Always like that. Okay, but let's now head on to the right with the custom shingled roof. Do we have like a launch lift or anything? I do think we have a launch lift because I've divided it into two. Yeah, a little bit launched. Oh, pre-launch actually. Okay, and now we're heading down the first drop and into the first mouse curves. I think every good spinning coaster needs some mouse curves. Except for the extreme spinning coasters, obviously. Getting dizzy here. Oh, we're getting a good spin. And now back into the Boulevard area. Junior Immerman. Block zone. And then we have an outer banked, I think, yeah. Outer banked airtime hill. Normal camelback. And then we have our mid-course brake run. And now we are heading through all these buildings that I've showed you. So good interaction with those. Yeah, a little bit of fog. And that's it. Nice little spinning coaster. Back into the station. So that's nearly everything. Still wanted to show that I've scattered around these smaller flat rides. Because these were part of a DLC. And those didn't really have that big of a footprint. It's easier now in Planet Coaster 2 as well to incorporate flat rides into the area. It always was quite annoying to do that in Planet Coaster 1 because the footprint of the rides was too big and you couldn't overlap it with other pathways. So I've decided to use those two because those had a very small footprint. We do have a trailer going on here. Okay, that's wild. And if we go through here, we are back in the main street. So this is like the main loop around the park, but we still have the Chinese area that you can actually access through the through two areas. First is through the Swiss area or the Bone Valley area, and the other one is coming from the back there. But yeah, there's so much construction going on, so not the most beautiful one. We do have a little bit of backstage here, because this is a passage for smaller deliveries, so they can be delivered right from the street into the park. So this is meant to be like a garage door. But yeah, this is the Chinese area, and again I need to change the time of day for a second. I don't remember which time of day this one looked best. I do think it's 11 o'clock. We do have our restaurant here. I don't know if I have... Yeah, it's called Dragon's Palace, so I've named it Dragon's Palace. And then there's this building, which is a great photo opportunity for both standing outside and standing inside this pagoda. Really like the bridge. And with a Vekoma roller coaster, you would have an insanely good photo spot. But yeah, it's not finished at all. And it will never be. That's the sad part. This park will never be finished because I'm not touching it anymore. And as we make our way around this area, you can see the zero that we have seen at the very beginning of this video. And we do have this very big pagoda. And this was meant to be an underground dark ride, but I only have made the Staircase of Doom. And then there was supposed to be an underground dark ride here. I have no clue what this is about. Oh, this is for the transfer track. Okay, get it. It was quite hard to pull off transfer tracks in Planet Coaster. It still is, to be honest, because we still don't have transfer tracks. And this ride doesn't have a station, unfortunately. I've started to build the base, but I've never made it any further. And I don't know why, but I think that is one of the best attractions in the park, mainly because it's implemented so well. We do have the section on top of the first dark ride, and you can kind of see the queue line from here. It's not like the most extreme ride by any means, but it has some good length to it. It has custom supporting, which isn't completely clean, as I've just seen. We do have a launch here, a very small one, going into the bigger roller coaster section that's going on in the Chinese area itself and not on the roof anymore. And now it's getting a little bit faster. It's getting a bit of speed now. Small airtime hill, and then into the last curve, and that's it again. And there you can see what I've meant with the transfer track. So we do have like an actual empty roller coaster train standing on the transfer track here. I still really like this custom support. I've used the main support of the log flume, and I've attached these support pieces onto it. And as you can see again, you couldn't really guess that the Swiss area is right behind this fence. So this blocks in the view beautifully. And then the last attraction that I've started to dress up is this one. This was meant to be like the big AAA dark ride in the park, right next to the Western dark ride. You can see the footprint is a lot bigger than the Tractor's dark ride. However, I didn't really made it this far, but I'm going to show you what I've created. Yeah, so we do have this temple, and the storyline was based around this vase, because it got stolen from the temple. And the rest of the story would have been to restore it, yeah, and put it back into the temple building. Now we are in bad weather conditions, and we are obviously waiting for the drop. That worked quite well with the timing, right? What a nice introduction to the dark ride. So sad I have never continued building that. But yeah, again, as I've mentioned, Planet Coaster 2 came out. There was no real point in continue building this dark ride. However, I do really like the small amount that I've actually finished here. Okay, so back for your orientation. This was the Zero family coaster, and to continue the loop around the park, you would have needed to go up these stairs right next to the lift of the Zero coaster. And this would have been like a very small sub area themed to North Africa, so Morocco, Egypt. So I started creating this, and this would have continued all the way here. But again, this was just the start of it. And I thought I dressed up this pathway here, but I didn't. So I can show you the Vekoma launch coaster with the Mach trains. There wasn't a Vekoma launch coaster in Planet Coaster 1, if you remember that. I think the layout was quite nice, so that's the reason why I've wanted to show you that. And yeah, that's the last thing in the park that I wanted to show you, except for the show that we are going to enjoy in a second. But yeah, it starts off with the launch, drive tire launch for some reason. It's a little bit jittery. Okay, but now we are dropping down the warehouse. Weird profiling there, but I don't know how to pull that off in another way. Second launch, and now it's gaining some speed. Very fast turn. Very fast hardline roll. Holy shit. Very janky, but I like the layout. Oh, double zero G roll. And then, okay, it's meandering around to the brake run. With an off-axis airtime hill. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it would have been nice if I had the time to finish all of my creations, but at the end of the day, I'm still very happy with the outcome. It's insane how compact this park is, how much there's packed into it. If you look at this now, can you believe that I've made a, I don't know, a long video? Over 50 minutes now, okay. Yeah, and we haven't seen everything at all. For example, I just remember that I've also created this smoke effect for the roller coasters. So it's when it's going through here, it looks like it would take the smoke with it, just like it would in real life. So it starts smoking, and then takes the smoke with it. It stops for a second, and then it continues. I know it's not perfect, but I really like the effect. Oh, I haven't shown you this in nighttime, right? So we have a full light sequence here. Then it changes its colors. So it traverses the rest of the layout, which isn't too long, unfortunately. And then it comes back up. And back to the station. Yeah, with a bang. And that's the stuff I do think that makes a theme park, also in real life. It's all the little smaller details and triggered events that you just wouldn't really expect. The entirety of the park looks pretty great at night, especially the classic roller coaster. Okay, so last thing that we need to do, we need to see the nighttime spectacle that is taking place in the main street. So I'm positioning myself to the best possible spot. Okay, here we go. What a nice finish to the day. I didn't remember that the show was quite this long, but yeah, I've enjoyed that. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope you have enjoyed this quick tour around my never seen before park. Leave a like if you did, and the next video is for sure going to be Planet Coaster 2 again, but I really wanted to show you all of this. And I do think now that I'm never going to touch Planet Coaster 1 again. So yeah, thanks for watching. I see you in the next one.